Welcome to Startup TV Boston. I'm Michael McCarthy, and we're coming to you live from Beijing, China. Startup TV Boston was designed for students of mine at Harvard University's Entrepreneurship and Innovation class. We wanted to support our students after the semester ended with the startups that they had created. So Startup TV Boston is meant to highlight the startups that we have from people in high school as well as college, put them on YouTube, send those YouTube video tapes around to angel investors and venture capitalists, and get funding. The good news is we've gotten some startups funding. Some startups have actually gotten into Ivy League colleges, those who were in high school. And I'm also a mentor for MIT's LaunchX, which is now global, helping high school students start startups. And I would like to introduce a startup that is in high school that is a part of LaunchX in Thailand. And Ira, would you please introduce yourself and your team? Welcome.
Hi, I'm Ira, and I'm the Operations Director at Keto Plants, and I'm from Thailand.
Hi, I'm Paulina, and I manage the marketing in our team, and I try to get the context from around.
Hi, I'm Juliana, and I'm the owner of Keto Plants, and I am trying to improve appearance of our project.
Hi, I'm Tim. I'm the technology person, and I did the website.
Excellent. Well, welcome everyone. And could you share with us what is Keto Plants?
Full-time vertical gardening service where we come in and grow plants at the hotel. Therefore, we reduce the transportation costs and the impact it has in the environment. And by doing this, we also provide employment to the local community as we will train them and they will have the skills to grow vertical gardens.
So let me understand this. You're taking hotels and resorts in Thailand and you're giving them farms so that they could feed their guests off of food that they grow in-house?
Yes.
Excellent. And where did this idea come from?
I would like Tim to answer this.
So first, we started off as a vertical garden for a personal use. So the one that you would put in your apartment and it wouldn't have dirt in it. But then we realized that hotels wanted more than normal people. So that was our main iteration that changed our company a lot. And now we're actually focusing on hotels rather than people.
Excellent. And tell me about LaunchX. What is LaunchX from your perspective, and how did you find them, or how did they find you?
Paulina?
Yes, LaunchX is a program that allows students from all over the world to come together in a team and start their own company and then maintain it after they finish the program.
Excellent. And how did you find out about LaunchX?
Well, last summer, I got an email from LaunchX saying, do you want to be a club president? And I was like, oh, great. I'm going to learn about entrepreneurship. And I got people involved and contacted these amazing people. And we just got on with it and made a big company.
Excellent. And from the day that you started your first class with LaunchX, how long was the program, and how long was it until you had your company ready to go?
Juliana, can you answer?
So firstly, the LaunchX started from September, and the demo day, it was at April. In February, we get to go into Shenzhen to go to demo day. Then we get a finalist, and then we go to Boston, which is global demo day.
Excellent. So tell me about some of the awards that you've won through LaunchX, just so our studio audience understands how the progression goes.
The rewards from LaunchX?
Yes. So I believe you won some awards. Could you share that with us?
Okay, on the regional demo day, we got selected as the finalist. So being that, we continue to go to the global demo day in MIT. And that was one of the biggest rewards when we went there, because you get to meet so much people, and each one of them were amazing entrepreneurs and amazing people, and then we get to know them and connect with them even until now, and I think that's brilliant.
Great. Yeah, it's really cool to meet entrepreneurs because everyone just has a ton of energy, and it's really amazing to do the networking. So yeah, with your experience is something that is always in existence in the startup community. So welcome to the club. And now I would love to share your startup pitch with our studio audience. Could you do a share screen and show us your pitch?
Yes, of course.
Thanks.
We are Keto Plants, and we would want to show you our slide.
So as you know, megacities are growing each year, and that means more people, which means more transportation, therefore more carbon dioxide. And that's the problem. Not only that, but farms are reducing in size, and there are less farms each year. So that's what we want to solve. We are a full-time vertical gardening system that focuses on sustain, which means we're low carbon because we require no transportation at all. It's all grown in the hotel. We also use zero waste fertilizer and organic pesticides. We support our local community by creating jobs, and we make a hotel brand more eco-friendly by them having us at their location. So you would have a question, well, how would a hotel user offering? First, we design their system, or they design their own system. Then we hire our farmers and let them farm at that place. And after a few months, chefs have pick and plate fresh greens every day. So this is our team of
Tim, Paulina, Indiana, and Kira. So this is the 10 hotel chains that we have talked to, and that involves up to 30 hotels. These are the hotels that we have gone on cars and went all over to Phuket and talked to them. Mrs. Trisara, Mr. Anthony Lark is the managing director, and he's also the head of Phuket Hotel Associations. And that way, he also invited us to their environmental trade show. This is Katatani. They have a big piece of land, and they have asked us to come in and farming. And this is Laguna as well. They have a big piece of land, and they're really interested in our product. JW Marriott is one of them that we have talked to as well.
We had also signed a document to unofficially bind us to the hotels and allow them to help us in the process. Some other hotels that we had talked to and we agreed with was Risa Panba, Cafe Del Mar, Andaman, Sinasia, Sunwing Kamala, and JW Marriott, and many other chains outside of Phuket. Also, we had contacted local community, and on the photos you can see the actual farmer that is prepared to work with us and grow plants at the hotel grounds.
Our target market is five-star hotels. Five-star hotels which interested in environmentally sustainable projects. So we made an iteration and find out that hotels need three change from us. First one, they don't need a project or the product, they need a service to grow the plants in. The second one, they want to help local communities, so we provide keto farmers for them. And the third one is we made two types of designs. One is for lobbyists to say, so everyone can see that, and the second one is for production, like for restaurants in the hotels. Why is the best solution? Because it's more convenient and sustainable than other projects like hydroponic farms or the gardens. Also, less transportation cost and less greenhouse gases emitted to the atmosphere. and it's more convenient. Our milestone is this year we finish to set up our system and also train our keto farmers. To the 2023, we got 600 hotels our in our chain.
Hotels have a need, there is a problem, and we have the solution. Sustain our planet and support our community. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the presentation. I think I want to move to Phuket. It's beautiful. It's like I never want to go back to work again. So question for you, if you could review with us about how many five-star hotels are in your target market?
Right now, as of now, we have contacted 30, but in total in southern Thailand, there's like 100, 1,000. We haven't counted that yet.
Okay, you said two numbers. You said 100, then you said 1,000. Can you just clarify how many resorts do you think there are?
We think in southern of Thailand, five-star hotels there's about like 100, but
Okay.
we are not entirely sure.
Gotcha. Okay, so there's about 100, and you've contacted about a third of them. 30, you said?
Yeah.
And how would you classify their response? Like how many said we love it? How many said we don't love it? Do you have any statistics on those 30?
Paulina can tell you all about that.
Of course, we contacted all of these hotels and their chains, and the response was really nice. They were very positive about it. Some of the chains were not very interested, but that was a very small minority. Most of the hotels were willing to start right now and actually provide land that they currently have. Some hotels also already have existing gardens, but they're not vertical, so they're not very convenient. So nearly all of them were able to partner with us and help us out.
So, Paulina, you bring up an interesting question. For our studio audience that isn't familiar with vertical gardening, could you share with us what is vertical gardening and how is that different than a plot of land in, let's say, our backyards at home?
Basically, the main difference between vertical gardening and just normal gardening is you use some form of structure that allows you to have some shelves or just align the pots vertically to have many rows of pots, and therefore increase the amount of plants produced in an amount of time by many times, because you can grow in many rows and many layers.
Okay, so the yield per square foot or per square meter is increased. So instead of having one melon in the backyard, you could have 3 or 4 melons all on top of each other.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. So of the 30 that liked it, what percentage gave you positive responses?
About, I'd say 80.
Okay,
Yes,
so you got,
because they not only bought into the idea, they weren't only liking the idea of convenience, they also liked how they can improve their corporate social responsibility. So they liked how they could help the community and in that way. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, great. So 80% gave you a positive response, and the number one response, it sounds like, was for the CSR, the corporate social responsibility. And for a studio audience, that basically means that's corporations behaving well, trying to do nice things for the environment as well as give a nice experience to the guests. Now, of those 80%, what percent do you think of the 30 that you contacted, what percent or do you think would actually be willing to pay for your services? Any estimate there?
About 15 of them, 15%.
About 15 hotels, you said, or 15% of the hotels? Say that again?
15%.
Okay, so 15%. That's actually pretty good. That's actually a pretty good closing ratio. Are you actually working with any clients right now doing this yet?
Okay, we have worked with Katatani.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a piece of land that they have free, and they want us to go in and see the place and start designing. So that's what we're contacting with them right now.
Great. Okay, so this is called your first customer. And the cool thing about a first customer is that typically they really just love your idea. They understand that you're starting out, nothing's going to start perfectly, and typically for a discount, they will be very patient with you and say, well, this is working, let's keep doing this. We could maybe do things a little bit differently over here, let's give that a shot. And they're very patient with you and very supportive, as opposed to a typical client that would say, come back when you have it all figured out. So it sounds like they're going to be a supportive first customer for you. And now that we only have about 14 minutes left in the show, we're about halfway through. This is the fun part of the show for our studio audience, because I just met Keto Plants. And what our studio audience loves is to hear what are some challenges that your team has. And we have not practiced this or rehearsed this. So if you could share with me, what is keeping you up at night? What is one big problem that you're concerned with? Because I consult with startups all day long. It's what I do for a living, and I would love to find out if I could maybe get rid of one of the headaches that you possibly have with your startup. So what's your biggest challenge right now?
Okay, Tim, can you say one of those?
Yes, the first challenge is how do we connect with farmers?
Okay, can you tell me a little bit more about that, connecting with farmers?
Yes, so we're not going to be able to be at every hotel all day long. So what we want to do is have connection with our farmers. So if everything goes wrong, or they have a question, or they have a problem, they could reach out for us, and we are able to answer them anytime.
Okay, so you're trying to figure out how do you get farmers to run each location and basically scale the business. Is that what I'm understanding? Okay. Here's what I'm thinking. This is going to be a combination of a franchising model and a train-the-trainer model. So let's say that you geographically take a look on the map of where these resorts are. And then within, let's say, a 5-kilometer area, find a farmer that is very close to that resort. We don't want them traveling too far to get back and forth to the resort. So try to find someone that is within close proximity. And they would then, quote unquote, have their own franchise. So let's say the farmer's name is Joe, and they're going to be at the Marriott, and that is their location. How is your internet connection in your local area? Do people use smartphones? Are they able to text and call, get video calls?
Yes, they are able, and we have quite a good internet connection all around the island.
Great. One way to scale is that I would start videotaping yourself doing train-the-trainer programs, meaning let's say you get 3 farmers to start, make a small class. While you are teaching that class, have someone videotape you with a smartphone. That can then go up to YouTube. And what you're going to start to do is by videotaping the classes, you're going to start to get your own training catalog so that you won't have to do live classes anymore. So film the first class. And let's say you want to do a better job later, film the class again next time you run a group. But film it from the beginning. Put it up on YouTube and make it public, make it open to anyone. Then any farmers that come down later, you could just say, go to the playlist, so make a playlist out of all your YouTube videos, and say you have to watch videos 1, 2, and 3 before you contact us about franchising. So maybe the first video is going to be the pitch that you just gave us. What is Keto Plants? Why should you care? Your pitch is going to be based towards the farmer. So your pitch right now is basically towards a general informational pitch. Possibly it would be a pitch towards an investor. Your pitch is always going to be different based on the audience. This was not a pitch to the hotel. You could have made things more specific to the hotel. If I was Marriott, I would probably want to know more things about how you're going to increase my business. So change your pitch, videotape it just like in Zoom, so you can get your own free Zoom.us account. and make a pitch for the farmer to get them attracted. Then you're going to make those training videos and only do 1 or 2 farmers at a time that are going to have this franchise. And you're basically going to be asking them 2 questions all the time. What are we doing well with this training, and what can we do better? And they're going to say things like, oh, this part of the video was great. I didn't really understand when you talked about the technical thing. So remember, they're your customer. So they're always going to be right, and always try to get their feedback. And since you have smartphones, just retape the presentations that need to be fixed. But that would be a cheap way that you could do training pretty much around the world. So if you end up going outside of Thailand, you could probably use the same training videos. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Sure. And what's your next headache? What's keeping you up? Paulina.
Yes. Is it better to charge the hotel for the service or for the lettuce itself?
I would charge them for the service, because let's say that you get a worm at the farm or the lettuce doesn't grow, then you're not going to make any money. You're fronting the money. Basically, you're already providing a service. And just to be very clear, I tend to be blunt, but I do it with love because I want you to do well. This is really not a money-making venture from a farming side of the equation. And your customers already told you that. They said that we love this from the corporate social responsibility angle. This is wonderful PR, which is why they asked to have that model in the lobby, so that people could come and say, oh my God, they're doing sustainable things and this is eco-friendly. And it's really wonderful public relations for these resorts. It creates nice awareness. Maybe these people are going to go home and create their own vertical farm. You have no idea the wonderful influence that you can be creating. But the actual dollar value is probably not going to be from the lettuce that gets sold that is being made, or the melon that's being grown. So let's just be clear about where the value is to the customer. It's really going to be a PR value. And I would also encourage you to consider creating tours for the guests, so that the guests could tour the hydroponic farm. And that means that you might want to have a farmer that has a personality, that likes to have people visit. So we don't necessarily want an antisocial farmer that says, get out of my melon patch. We want someone that says, hey, come look at the melons. Let me show you how they grow. So I would hire a farmer that's really going to be good with tourists. Make sure that they can speak the local language that the tourists are going to be coming. So if you have a lot of Germans at your resort, try to get someone that speaks German. If they don't, make sure that their phone has Google Translate, where you can basically talk to people in the local language. Or maybe if someone is older and doesn't want to be technologically advanced, just get little cards, little index cards that can tell people, you know, in the local language, hey, this is a melon and it takes 7 days to grow it, something like that. But I would be very clear that you are selling a service. You're actually able to help this hotel chain charge more money because it's an eco-friendly. You may be able to get into the organic side. So just be really clear that you're already giving them value that is worth money just by being in existence. Even if you didn't grow any lettuce, the fact that you have this vertical farm there is really helping increase their local brand image and the value of their brand. So you are creating value. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, great. And so we have 6 minutes left. So far, we're going to have everyone sleeping well tonight because you're not going to be up with these first 2 problems. What's the third one? Anything on your mind?
Liliana, do you have something?
Yes, I have. So how can we maintain the quality in different hotels? Because does it need the same amount of quality or different? Because everyone's is different.
It's a good question, and the quality actually isn't going to be as important as it would be for McDonald's, for example. So for McDonald's, we all know McDonald's. When we go to Beijing or we go to Boston or we go to Phuket, we want the French fries to always taste the same. But think about your situation. You probably have guests who are coming to one resort, maybe once a year. They're probably not going to go down the road to another resort, stay there and have a salad and notice that the lettuce is different. So the customers are probably not going to be at the same location to notice that the quality is different. However, consistency is incredibly important for your brand. So I would encourage you, Uliana, to think of foods that you can grow that are easy to grow, that are plentiful, meaning that they grow very quickly. Let's say like microgreens can grow in a few days. The nice thing about microgreens is that they grow quickly. You can garnish every dish with them. And I would encourage you, if you could grow something where just a little sprig of everything goes on every plate, you could legally, honestly, and with integrity say, every single dish at this resort has food from our vertical farm. And that is amazing value for the Marriott and for every resort there, that you could say every single dish served has something from our farm on it. So now we're looking at parsley and we're looking at microgreens. Also, Phuket is not a huge geographical location. It's not as big as China where I am right now. So imagine, Uliana, that a crop didn't grow very well at the Marriott. Well, what if there's a bumper crop and some excess at a resort down the road? If you have a cooperation between all the farmers, they could call up and say, hey, do you have an extra melon? The Marriott needs an extra melon. And maybe 2 months later, they need to do a trade. So you could have a cooperative inventory where they would stay in touch with you and say things via smartphone or WeChat. Do you have WeChat in Thailand? Or WhatsApp?
We have another social communication. It's called Line.
Okay, so as long as these farmers are connected on a daily basis, they could send out a communication that, hey, we have 5 extra melons here if anyone needs them. Or guess what, our lettuce is all wilted, we need lettuce, can anyone help us out? And then you can have a consistent inventory and you can start to have consistent quality. So by having them be cooperative, and if you're paid on a service basis, you're not paid on how much crop you're growing, the farmers get a consistent income, which is something that they can budget. They're not worrying about monsoon season and do we have enough water, is there enough sunshine? So it creates a more stable economy for the farmer because now you're charging on a service business. Does that make sense? Okay, so we only have about a minute or two left in the show. What is one thing that you would like our studio audience to remember about Keto Plants going forward?
Of course, I think the most important thing is we are not really doing this for money. We are actually doing this to make a difference because even if you compare our tropical, beautiful island, maybe 10 years ago and now, it is a completely different place. A lot of pollution has been taking place. And all we want to do is just make a small difference, make a small change, and maybe hope that some people will pick it up later and help us grow and develop this friendly community.
Well, if we all took that point of view, Paulina, then the world would be a much better place. So I appreciate what you're doing, and I hope what you're doing is contagious, and I hope the guests go home. And in closing, if you were able to potentially sell or teach people how to do vertical farming when they go home from that resort, that might be another source of income for you. Because I think some of these tourists might like to take something home from that. Okay? So thank you so much all for being on the show. We would love to have you back in 1 year and see how you're doing. Thank you, everyone, from Beijing, China, and Thailand. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.